So my question is, how have these extreme weather events impacted global food production?
Among all the sectors, climate change is expected to hit agriculture the hardest. For instance, following drought, agriculture absorbs up to 84% of the economic impacts. The state of food security and nutrition in the world, the SOFI report of 2023, published by FAO and several other UN agencies, informs that 735 million people faced hunger last year. The climate crisis was the very key driver of this food insecurity. The impact of climate change are already affecting food security and are expected to continue to threaten crop production and livelihoods. They increase food prices and negatively affect nutrition, biodiversity, and labor productivity. Changing climate conditions also increase pressure on natural ecosystems and resources such as land and water, and contribute to soil erosion, deforestation, water scarcity, pollution, and overall land degradation, just to mention a few. Meanwhile, agriculture is a major source of greenhouse gas emissions. The agricultural sector, together with the forestry and land use change, is responsible for roughly 20% of anthropogenic greenhouse gases, GHG. So you see the importance. Agri-food systems must become more resilient to the current and future impacts of climate change, learning from good practices to promote transformative adaptation policies and plans of action.
The Economist published an article recently saying that because of these extreme weather events, we may have to move some of the crop production to other places or bring more indoors. That's the case for China, and maybe I imagine that would be the case for a lot of places in the world. So are we prepared for this kind of major shifts in global food production?
Before I answer your question a little bit more in detail, let me just mention keywords that are related to this question. Adaptation, mitigation, innovation, produce more with less. Addressing the impact of extreme weather and greenhouse gas emissions, as mentioned in your question, belongs to the mitigation against climate change. The changing of farming patterns, as you also were describing, refers to another dimension of climate change, which is responsible, we call it adaptation. In addition to extreme weather, which are experiencing a more obvious way, there are longer-term changes in climate, such as the increasing mean temperature, water stress, changes in the occurrence of pests and diseases, sea level rises, and ocean acidification, and so on. These will all have impacts on the agricultural sectors and related value chains, livelihoods, and ecosystems. Research indicates that adaptation through changes in food production management, especially planting dates, cultivar choices, and irrigation, have an estimated potential to increase yields by 7 to 15%.
As you are undoubtedly aware, food security is not just affected by climate alone. We have geopolitical conflicts, we have major power competitions. All of these could impact the global food production. So with all these disruptions, what should individual farmers and small food companies do to offset these disruptions?
You're absolutely right. I mean, we can see it on our daily lives today. Everything happens, and everything in many cases happens at the same time. We are at the time of a cascading crisis, with hunger and climate crisis, and conflicts are prominent among them. Agri-food system already face the challenge of sustainability, provide sufficient, accessible, affordable, safe and nutritious food that contribute to healthy diets, as well as other raw materials, bioenergy, processed products and services to a growing urban and rural populations. As a result, our changes in achieving especially two SDG, the SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 13 on climate action, and many other SDGs are becoming more and more challenges with this cascade of crises. So we have to basically step up and get our act together and take actions that will accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Development Agenda right on time. And the communities that produce our foods, including farmers, fishers, forest-dependent people, and pastoralists, are hurt the most as the impact of this crisis intensifies at their level. Meanwhile, farmers are the primary custodians of knowledge about their environment, agro ecosystems, crops, livelihoods, and local climate patterns, for example. They adapt to climate change with smart agricultural practices. And all these initiatives should always be geared towards supporting local farmers' knowledge, requirements, and priorities. We need to transform our agri-food systems, an agri-food system that put people at the center. People including farmers, men, women, owners of individual farms, food production, companies, as you mentioned, people who hold the key driving to adapt and implement new practices, innovations and technologies for food security and sustainable production. Looking forward, China is expected to, together with FAO and other countries, consistently make joint efforts in ensuring food security and good nutrition in the context of the climate change and crisis. FAO is looking forward to seeing China play an increasingly important role in ensuring that world food security and continuing our journey with China in pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals.